Let's start in English. So then, very welcome to everybody for taking some of your time to attend this Asian Dream webinar. I'm Emmanuel, and I'm very delighted to host and co-host with Zohra here this third episode, where made by alumni for alumni and students, basically to share some experience abroad and most likely in Asian. So first episode was in March. Second episode was in May. We covered few countries, including Taiwan, China, Singapore, Malaysia, and Thailand. So today I have the joy to have with me three panelists. We are covering two countries with South Korea and just so South Korea, interestingly, is close to 50 million habitants, people living there. Only 25 million in Australia. So just to give you a balance, but very attractive economy in Asia. So we have here Zohra. Hi, Zohra, based in Korea.
Hello.
And with,
hello. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Okay, I just wanted to do a quick presentation. Usually I'm co-hosting with Emmanuel because I'm the one responsible to ask the questions and all, but this time as a speaker, I will discuss in further details my experience in my 11-year experience in Korea, what I did, and currently what I'm doing. And I would like to thank you, all of you, to join today, and Emmanuel to be in charge of the webinar. Thank you very much.
Well, thanks, Zohra. And Zohra is based in South Korea, but you're joining us today from Morocco, is it? So traveling quite a lot. This is quite impressive.
Indeed.
Connection seems to be quite okay. So good to have you, Zohra. We have Trevor, also based in Korea. Hi, Trevor. Thanks for joining.
Hi. So yeah, my name is Trevor, and I'm actually recently graduated from Montpellier Business School. And I arrived in Korea on September 2022. So yeah, I'm also going to share with you my short experience here. So yeah.
But thanks, Trevor, and very, very interesting to have two different profile, different years of experience in the same country. You guys know each other, of course, alumni MBS, right? So that will be a very interesting discussion on exchange. And we have from Australia, we have Océane. Hi, Océane. Evening time for you, is it?
Yes, 8 p.m. here.
Thanks for joining. Dinner time.
I know. But yeah, I'll share a little bit about my journey as well. I've been in Australia for 6 years and a half. Got the citizenship last year, so dual passport now, Australian and French, or maybe the other way around. But yeah, a lot to say about Australia and all the opportunities here.
But thanks, Océane. So on my side, I'm just based in Singapore. We had some question from Zohra back to episode 2. So anyway, I'm happy to have any question at the end of the call, of the meeting. So just to let you know, we are looking about 1 hour, 1 hour and a half max, just of your time. We'll go through a quick presentation of all the panelists. Then we'll get into kind of exchange on specific question. Then we'll open up for Q&A. We'll try to keep maybe if we can 30 minutes in case you guys have questions. So do not hesitate, don't be shy. But this being said, let's go with introduction of who wants to go first? Zohra, do you want to start with maybe?
Okay, sure. So my name is Zohra-Lina Martini. I'm sorry?
So you're the closest to the French time zone. So that was easy.
Indeed. Indeed. So basically, I'm currently in Morocco for personal and professional affairs, but I'm basically based in South Korea since 2012. Previously, I have been living in the UK for 2 years. So I've mainly been abroad almost half of my life. And the third of my life have been in South Korea. I'm currently the person responsible for the branch antenna in South Korea. Mainly responsible for events, communications related to MBS in South Korea. And if people have questions, of course, not only at the end of this webinar, but if you have questions later on, you can contact me, as I know quite a bit about how to live in South Korea and how to enjoy your journey there. So right now I'm in Morocco until Thursday. And it's a pleasure to discuss about my experience and to discuss about also my challenges and quite my exciting experiences with you all. And that's pretty much it for me as an introduction. So I guess I will let Trevor this time introduce himself, as he's also based in South Korea. So that's your turn now, Trevor.
Okay, so yeah, I'm also based in South Korea, in Seoul, exactly. So I just got graduated in Montpellier Business School recently. I was in the last year. I actually started my career in pharmaceutical companies as a data analyst since my alternance. I don't know what to say in English, honestly. So I started in Bosch and Lomb in Montpellier, and slowly I got into the business. And thanks to my experience in Bosch and Lomb, and also thanks to my my first experience in Korea as an exchange student, I managed to find a job in Korea as a VIE actually. And now I'm here since September 2022, and everything is going all right so far. So I'm supposed to stay at least until August 2024, and then who knows, maybe more. But the VIE, as we will discuss after, I don't know. But the VIE is limited to 2 years contract only. So yeah, do you want me to add anything for the presentation so far, or maybe we can go for Océane now?
Yeah, sure.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Trevor. So I graduated in 2016, and I did the same as you, Trevor. I did my last year in alternance. That was so good. I actually did it at Intel, and that sort of opened the world of tech to me. And I was like, wow, there's so much innovation, so much coming to market. So I was kind of like doing my last year into taking extra curriculum. One of them was like IT business consulting. So trying to aim a little bit towards the IT sector. And after finishing up, I moved to Australia with now my husband, and I started sort of continuing the career within the IT industry. Not easy when you're a fresh starter coming directly from school, sort of. They're definitely looking for more experienced people in the country. But there are definitely ways that you can, create your brand, elevate your persona, and we'll talk a bit about that. But essentially, I managed to rejoin Intel this time in Australia, and I was, very pleased to be able to join this company, which I firmly believed in. So yeah, 6 years and a half in the country. Got a baby girl now that is born here. We bought, first apartment and looking at buying a house next year. So fully settling in and enjoying the best of what the country has to offer.
Well, thanks, Océane. A pretty impressive background for all of you guys. But Trevor, I think we are currently lucky because we have two strong women in tech today with us. The episode 1 and 2, the speakers were guys, so the quota were missed.
Indeed.
But I think today we are right in the quota, so that could be also another webinar eventually to go more deeper into the woman in tech, because that could be very interesting. Maybe if we have time, we can have question on this. and different background, having babies, buying an apartment. Océane, you like never coming back in France, or maybe not tomorrow, I guess. So we can see, freshly arrived Trevor, not long, but you'll tell us more about it. I guess you have more background in Korea than just arriving just last year. But just a question then, guys, why this country? Why Zohra, Trevor, why for you South Korea? And Ocean, why for you Australia? Is there anything special? Why did you guys choose the country you are today?
May I start?
Of course.
Yes, please.
Okay, sure. So for me, that was actually not because of a like for the country per se, even though I was always passionate about the Japanese culture since I'm a kid. And then I've discovered the Korean culture while I was an exchange student back in Coventry. And at the time, pretty much nobody knew about South Korea. Everybody knew about North Korea, the war, the nuclear weapons, the potential danger, but nobody knew about South Korea. And in my mind, I was like, okay, South Korea seems to be an interesting country. It has an interesting language and culture. And I believe that because there were not many French people at the time, I was like, if I go there and I challenge myself and I manage to do great there, I think I can survive everywhere. So at the time, my expectation would be, I was thinking about staying 3 to 5 years to build up my resume, because we have to remember when I finished graduating in 2012, that was just like 4 years after the subprime crisis. And so the mood at the time in terms of employment and things like that were not as good. So I was like, if I manage to survive in Korea, or even more thrive in Korea, I can find a job everywhere in the world. So that's the reason why I chose South Korea for the challenge.
That's a nice one. So then maybe we go right away to Trevor, which is in the same country. Yeah. Maybe the same reason or very different. What about you?
I would say it's not as glamorous as Zohra, but for me, I've been here 3 years ago as an exchange student. So it was just before the COVID, and actually I lived in Korea during the COVID, which was a great experience because the country was really well prepared for this kind of situation, and everything went pretty smoothly. So yeah. So anyway, I decided to come to Korea as an exchange student, not also for any like for the country, any like I didn't want it to go to Korea at first, since many years. Actually, I might say I was also interested in overall about Asia. And Japanese culture also. The people from my generation like basically grew up with many animes and stuff like this, so we loved a lot Japan culture. But Korea, yeah, I didn't really know about this country, but when the decision came to go abroad during my master 1 in Montpellier Business School, I had to choose for a country, and rapidly I could like cut in the basically I was really like making my decision pretty fast, because all America was either too expensive or either Spanish language, so I couldn't go. Australia also was quite expensive, and Europe was, in my opinion, not a real challenge. It was too close from France, and there's like it was not as challenging as going Asia. So Asia was my first decision pretty fast, and within all the possibilities that Montpellier Business School offered us, Seoul came out on top really fast. Basically, I wanted to go in a big city. I always lived in small city all my life. I never used, apart from when I was traveling, I never used the subway before, like as a commute. So yeah, basically, I'm someone from outside the city, so I don't know what's a city life. So I was thinking, yeah, Seoul, 10 million, 20 million people living there. It must be like something special. So yeah, I decided to go Seoul without any back mind, like about what I was thinking about the country. Like even North Korea and stuff like this, I was not really interested in all of those subjects. So I came here and I realized it was such a great country. All the culture and the people were really great, and that's why I'm back now. 3 years later, 2 years later, maybe 2 years later, now I'm here as a worker. So it's a total different life, but it's also a great life.
Yeah, but this is interesting because you are back, so meaning your first choice was really a good choice, right? Otherwise, you would not being back.
It was.
And you arrive through an student exchange. So you arrive in an environment supported by Montpellier Business School with maybe
Exactly.
other students in a kind of, it was a broad different experience, but at least in a structure or something where you were maybe not completely alone. So it was a kind of a good way to go into a different country. Because if we move to you, Océane, if I recall, your choice of Australia was completely different when we were preparing the webinar, right?
Yeah, it was. It was quite personal at the end. Back then I met my boyfriend during one of the MBS parties, because let's be honest, those are the best parties in Montpellier. He's Norwegian, and so we did a lot of sort of long distance between. I used to be in Paris and he was in Oslo. For the citizenship in Australia, you need to register all of the flight that you've took, all the countries you've been to for the last 10 years. So we had to go through all of those records of flight. We've been flying 50 times over a year and a half between Oslo and Paris. So at the end of my graduation, the end of the internship and everything, we were like, we need to find a country. I was like, no way I'm going to Norway, and no way he was going to France. It was like, there's too much administration. So we had to find a middle ground. So we kind of put up a list. For us, the criteria was, well, we're both ambitious and want a career, so it's got to be a sort of like a big city with sort of like good ecosystem of enterprise. It has to be a sort of like livable city, like in terms of weather, and also close to the outdoors, because we like to go away on the weekend. So based on that list, we had sort of London, Amsterdam, we had some place in Canada, we had New York, we had Singapore, we had Sydney, and we had Hong Kong. And just one day kind of mentioned Sydney, and we set sail on Sydney. We sold everything we had in France, packed 2 suitcases each. We've never been to Australia before. But yeah, that was like a bit of the American dream. Just go there and start your life from scratch and make it happen. And we did. So yeah, it's possible. Gotta go wild sometimes.
So you guys completely flipped the coin and gave up everything, just trying a new challenge, and a couple of years later, you guys are still there, buying your first house soon. So pretty
Yeah,
interesting.
but it starts from nothing, right? Like starting off from MBS, obviously you don't have much funds because you haven't been working, and you arrive here, as you mentioned, Trevor, Australia is pretty expensive. So yes, finding a job wasn't easy to start with. I did reach out a point after like 4 months in the country being like, I have no more money in the bank account. And if I don't find a job, I'm going to have to go and be a waitress. And then how do I attend an interview if it's within the day and I need to be a waitress? So it's reached that point, but then I think by perseverance and working on, again, your brain, your connection, it's really strong here, the connections in Australia who so building that network then help you put a foot on the ladder, and then it's just up. Yeah.
But I think you guys completely represent the thematic of of this webinar, Asian Dream, making some dreams come true. And this kind of experience, you guys are where you wanted to be. Trevor, you managed to come back after your first experience. Zohra, you're still there. I understand you're setting up your own business now, so we'll talk about it maybe later. And Océane, you the full swing, I will say, family, houses. So this is pretty interesting experience. So now that you guys, after quite some time in your own country, understanding why you are there, can I ask you what is one amazing experience, or one big, can be positive or negative, one experience different from France that you could call out, or that is really standing out, that will just mark your mind? Zohra, maybe you have anything?
So, okay. Yeah, so actually I have a really, really funny one. So back in 2012, the first year I was actually working for a cybersecurity company at the time that hired me. And so the good thing was, because there were very few foreigners, we had all the good plans, including going to parties, going to awards that were broadcasted on television and things like that. And actually one time, it was like I arrived end of February, and I think it was May or June or July, because it was really, really hot in Seoul at the time. And so actually one of my friends knew there was this award where they were looking for foreigners to join, because it's one of the ways to also promote Korea through those broadcasts. And it was actually the Mnet, was called the Choice Awards, if I remember properly. And so a friend of mine told me, please come join us. There is a party there. There are free drinks, everything. And so in order to go there on time, I kind of gave the excuse I was getting a bit sick to go home earlier. So at 5 p.m., I quit my job. I go there, which was close to the Tower Namsan. For those you who know, the Namsan Tower basically is like like one of the tallest tower in the middle of Seoul. And it's on top the Namsan, which means like basically it's the mountain of the south, even though it's not really in the south. But basically close to there was a hotel where they had this party where all the idols of the year went. And so I decided to go join. We had fun. We even had a special place where we could dance, and we saw idol going through. And at some point, basically, we go back out of this place, and then we go just dancing and watching the show and everything. And like I told you, I protested that I was sick. Suddenly, one of the cameramen decided to put his camera on me for at least 5 to 10 minutes. And I was freaking out, because basically if my employer saw I was not sick, I would have been really, really in trouble. Luckily, he doesn't mind much about the Mnet and idols, so he didn't see what happened. But especially the first year, I had this amazing experience where I could go to places and we could dance next to idols, like real idols of the time. For people who know, maybe Sonia Shide, Girls' Generation, or Bosca Bosca, which is a group of 3 guys, including one French, if I remember correctly, who was a drummer. And so, yeah, this was one of the most exciting times for me, in the sense that I had the chance to dance around people who were very famous. But at the same time, I had to be very careful, because if I was caught, it would have been bad for me, especially my first year working in a Korean organization. So yeah, that would be the most memorable one.
Zohra, I miss the fact that you were a celebrity and talking about dancing and singing. Do you want to show us some moves, or maybe next time?
Maybe next time. Right now, I think it's gonna be a bit hard.
Okay,
Maybe
okay.
next
So
time.
we'll do another session for the K-pop, and to get more skills on live.
Okay, sure. Sure.
So that seems to be kind of a very, very good experience. Trevor, just to keep on South Korea, how about you? Anything positive or even negative? Huh? We have different flavors.
Of course. Well, as I mentioned last time, I told you I'm not here since a long time, so I don't have like a really memorable moment. But I would say, like as we discussed also, like what is really memorable is how the countries works. Like, and I thought about it after when we talked about it, and I was really thinking, like, the administration, how it works, it's crazy fast. Like I had many times, I can tell you, like, maybe like 2 or 3 times I was thinking like, honestly, if I done that in France, it would have taken weeks, and it took only like 2 or 3 hours here. For example, I remember I wanted to rent a car in Jeju Island, which is in south of the country. So I was thinking, yeah, I have my French license, but of course they don't take it. So I don't have any international license or whatever. So at that time, I remember I was dating a Korean woman. So she said, "Oh, but you should just like change it in um in a Korean license, you know." So I said, okay, so how should I do? And she said, oh, you just have to go there in the administration office. You ask for changing, and they will give you after like just you after 1 hour meeting. You just have to put some information and stuff. They just check your eyes, and that's all. So I've been there. They checked my eyes, and then they say, okay, everything is all right. So I just signed few papers, and I gave my French license, and they gave me back instantly. They didn't like send it me later. They give it back. They print just in front of me almost, and they say, okay, here's your Korean license. So far, since 3 years now, I have a Korean license that I used when I came back in France, because it's also an international license. So, and my French license is in Seoul since 3 years, waiting for me to get it back. But I don't really need it because I can use my license in France also. So yeah. What do you,
Trevor, I
yeah.
just want to let you know, you have to be careful that they don't destroy your French license, because if you wait a bit too long, they will destroy it.
But
There
anyway,
is a time
it's not
limit
that
for
big a problem. It's not that big a
no big
problem
deal.
because my Korean license is an international license, so I can use it in France in anywhere I want. So yeah,
Okay.
there's not a big problem. And the expiration date of my French license is the same as my Korean license. So anyway, when my Korean license is done, I need to do a new one anyway. So yeah, so that was one of the example, but I also had like a more recent one when I had some the healthcare system of Korea like contacted me because I'm a foreigner, so I need to pay like something for the healthcare system. But with the VIE, we have like a special healthcare system which is already included in the contract. So we don't need anything. So they say if you don't need this healthcare system, you have to contact us. So I was really freaking out. I was like, oh my god, it's gonna take such a long time again to take care of this. I'm so lazy. And then so I said, well, I should call them anyway. There was a English line, so you can call them in English, and it's working. And then she just tell me, okay, and there's no problem. Just send me by SMS just your passport and this and this. So it was just like free stuff, like nothing big, by SMS. And then I send her like 5 or 10 minutes after our call. And she sent me back, okay, everything is all right. There's no problem anymore with your healthcare system. So you can go. And I was thinking, yeah, that must have done like more like maybe like a week to do like in France, because you have to send it by mail. You have to do everything like not like offline. So it's terrible. And this is what I think is the most shocking like culture shock I had, is this like yeah, facility, all the easy way you can do like all this stuff which are always annoying to do, and you're always lazy to do. So everything is easier on this part in Korea, I would say.
Can I just ask you one question before we move to Océane or Trevor? Because you're talking about the processing, efficiency through digitalization, making things more efficient, easier. Now, Korea is not the most well-known English country.
Yeah.
So how does it work for you in terms of you're fluent in Korean, or is
Yeah.
everything is in English, or how?
Actually, I'm not fluent in Korea at all. I just speak like just few words. I really don't use it in like a daily life. But yeah, most of the things are in English. There is some stuff you cannot do it if you don't speak Korean. That's true. But anyway, you can find the help, like especially if you're working in Korea. Like in my company, like the secretary and everything, they can help me for anything I need. but most of the things are doable for English speakers. So on this part, there's not a big issue in my opinion.
Okay, understood. But maybe we'll get back to it a little bit later, because there's an aspect on this that will be very interesting in terms of company and local language. But if we move to Océane, English country speaking, and ahead in terms of digitalization, if I remember some of the discussion, how about you in terms of fascinating experience in your country?
Well, there's a lot. The nature is definitely, you know, one of them. Everything is so big, like the spaces, there's just so much space, so much green everywhere. So we're definitely, you know, enjoying. We do a lot of like hiking, kayaking, climbing, trekking. I don't know, there's so much of it out there. But look, I think one of the moment where you're like, oh, I had no idea. Like one of them would be learning. So I had this expectation when we were going to restaurant that all the wines were imported, because in France you pretty much only have French wines. And then you know, a lot of the names were Italian, and I was like, oh, Barossa, Barbera. I was like, oh, they're all coming from Italy. And actually, nothing is imported in Australia. Food and alcohol, nothing is imported. Everything is grown in the country. And it is such a massive wine producer, like so good. So many beautiful wineries to visit. And I was like, oh shit, had really no idea. What they did actually, they imported grapes when there was the disease in France and Europe. They sent them to Chile and Australia. And then therefore it's been growing on actually French old grapes. But yeah, that was pretty cool. I think maybe something a bit less fun was when we had our baby, we didn't really realize all of the administration between Norway, France, and Australia. We found ourselves at some point where we had 3 different nationalities and 3 different passports for between my husband, myself, and our baby girl. And we were like, this is crude. We're traveling to a country we even had sort of 3 different last names. So it was pretty tricky. So it's good to kind of be due diligent on, you know, what's needed. Obviously not necessarily baby related, but yeah, understanding what are the requirements in the country that you lived in, and the checks that you sort of, you know, you can find everything online. It just mean being a bit proactive and yeah, understanding. And you can also reach out to the people in the country, like, you know, reaching out to Zohra and Trevor, or we are quite a few in Australia, to understand what's needed.
I would like to, I would like to continue on the name thing that you've discussed, Océane. Here in Korea, I'm also married to a Korean man since 2017. And actually what's happening is very interesting because when you marry a Korean man, or if a Korean woman marries a foreigner, what's happening is that we keep our last name. So even I'm married to this person, we're going to have 2 different names. I'm still Martini. My family name is Martini. And my husband is Kim. And so when we travel, we have to let people know we are married, or we have to have like le livret de famille. Otherwise, people can't know we are married unless we have a document that we get from what we call the Jumin Center, which is like kind of the services in the mayor's office or the district office. Otherwise, people like may be confused of our like marital status. So that's very interesting that you pointed it out, because in Korea we have a similar situation.
But Zohra, only for women, or does your husband also have to have a combined name?
Actually, then in France, you have the choice of the patronyme of the name. But if you do not choose anything, basically, basically when I married my husband, I married at the same time in France and in Korea. But I don't get his last name unless I request it. So basically, I kept my last name and he just kept his last name.
Okay, understood. So that's part of the learning in a different countries. This is very interesting. If I may just get back quickly to Océane, Australia. So the picture you describe was a bit something that I had in mind. Australia is a big country, green. People are sporty, waking up early, go surfing and everything. But back to the digitalization when we're talking about South Korea, I was surprised. You mentioned that Australia is quite advanced also on this front, is it?
Very advanced. Yeah, everything is online at a touch of a button. Everything is on an app on your phone, and everything is very quick. So very similar to the Korean model, which makes life very easy. Like literally, you don't have to send anything on paper, or you can like change a name. You can do it online in 5 minutes, and then you will get a response 1 week later. Now to change my name in France, and it's nothing to, we were kind of bashing a bit at France, but look, to change now my name in France, I need to go to court, and it's going to be a 3-year process. I did it in 5 minutes, and same in Norway and Australia are quite similar. They have, everything is, you don't use coins anymore. Everything is on, credit cards. You always tap on everything. There's no limits. In France, we're sort of getting there. The limit is increasing sort of every couple of years. But yeah, it's extremely digitalized. It was a good surprise, to be honest.
Good. So being woman in tech, this is a very good topic. I'm sure you guys may be able to talk about it for hours. We are reaching 50 minutes of the webinar, so maybe I'll just ask a last question before maybe we open the floor for Q&A for anybody who wants to ask a question. It's in terms of cultural, or in terms of turning point. You guys are here different years of experience in your country, decided to stay at some point. But how could you define the moment you guys decided or realized this is my country, I want to stay here, and how did it happen, and why? Trevor, maybe do you want to start with you? I mean, I'm not sure if you are ready, if you want to stay, but at least you came back.
Actually, that's an interesting question, because in my deep mind, my opinion about that is it's still blurry, honestly. But we are in Asian Dream episode 3, and at least what I know is that I want to stay in Asia. That's for sure. That's for sure. In Korea, I could stay more than 2 years, but I'm not sure I see myself in the same place in 5 or 10 years, honestly. Um, there's no specific reason, but it's just like I want to explore the world more. I want to explore more in Asia. I want to be able to live possibly maybe in Singapore or in Thailand, Philippines also. There's many countries I would like to experience as a worker also, because I one of the good thing also being in Korea is that you can access to lots of countries for holidays. Like for example, a few weeks ago, actually 2 weeks ago, I was in Philippines for really a cheap flights, something you cannot do from France. So that's also the good part about being in Korea, about being in Asia, because you have the low cost to go anywhere in South Asia, in those beautiful countries. So yeah,
The
what I
world
think
is your
about.
oyster, Trevor.
Sorry.
The world is your oyster. That's
It's
what
my
it is.
oyster. Okay.
Do you know
I
this
didn't know
expression?
about. I'd never heard about this expression.
That means
Oh,
the world is yours. You can go wherever. You
Yeah,
have this
exactly,
ambition. You can go work in
exactly.
any countries.
That's my mindset right now is more in this way. As I said, I really love Korea, and I really think about staying more than after my VIE. But I'm still young, and I have many plans, many ambition for my career, and I would love to be able to explore more and more Asia, maybe going somewhere else. But for now, my mind is really in Asia, because I love this place. So yeah, so the question is actually interesting, but because yeah, it's quite blurry in my mind. As you know, I'm in here only since 7 months or 8 months so far as a worker. So everything is not set up in my head. But yeah, so far I really like what I do. So far, I want to stay more. Actually, I already, because the VIE starts with a 1-year contract, and I already spent for 2, so it means that I want to stay. But yeah, I know deeply in myself that I will not be here in 5 or 10 years. I know that I will just go somewhere else. Maybe I will come back in 10 years. Maybe I will come back in 20 years. I don't know. But I know that I want to move a lot. I want to be able to explore more the world and explore more cities where I can grow my career as I wish.
Well, at least you still have time, Trevor, and at least you know already
Exactly.
you want to stay. Yeah, you are in Korea. You have time. Don't hesitate to reach out to your alumni, network in Asia. We have more and more representative opening, but that's
Indeed.
a good one. So, Zohra or Océane, how about you guys? You guys are more settled, I guess, in your own countries.
Settled or established. I think it's both in that case, if I'm correct. So for my part, like I said previously, basically I was really expecting to only stay 3 to 5 years. The problem was that the first week I came to the company, so I came on a Tuesday. The following Tuesday, my now husband joined the company. And so while I had my professional ambition, that was really, really important for me, especially the first few years, I had the chance to also meet my husband right away. And so what happened is that first I was like, okay, I would say 3-5 years. It's going to be amazing on my CV. I can travel everywhere. I'm able to speak a few languages now. But because now I'm married and hopefully I will have kids soon, I have decided to establish myself in South Korea. But because I'm also what I believe an international person, like right now you can say I'm in Morocco because my mom is Moroccan. I'm trying right now to establish my own business in consulting. And so I've started my own business back in March 2023. So right now it's purely settling, discussing with the network I have created in Korea and all over the world. And hopefully, while having my headquarters in Korea, hopefully traveling all around the world for my work, enabling people to do international business and international marketing. So that's where my mindset is, because I believe like I cannot stay all year in only one country because I'm simply not like a one country person. But having my headquarters in Korea, I think that's the right thing to do. While my husband can work in Korea, I can also work in Korea. And as you explained, Trevor, about the administrative stuff, that's really, really true. It took me effectively 2.5 to 3 hours to create my company. I took half an hour to register my company. I already had offices thanks to one of my connections. And the longest thing was actually opening a bank account. It took me 2 hours because the Korean system was struggling with the alphabetical letters. But other than that, it was even to create your own company as they call it 개인사업. So basically a solopreneur. It takes a short amount of time, especially if you prepare all documents, and the documents are very, very simple. You just need one bank account, find offices, and in Seoul you have a lot of office spaces, a lot of co-working spaces, so it's very, very easy to get a contract, and your ID. Because if you create a company in Korea, you have to make sure to have the right visa, but this is not hard to. So that's how I envision my life in Korea right now. Yeah. And if you want to establish a business in Korea later on, it can be very, very easy. There are many also advisors. The administrative steps are very simple. And Korea, it's very tax friendly, meaning that especially if you're a solopreneur or an entrepreneur, they have like many tax benefits. So it's really, really worth it to start something in this country.
So you completely embrace your country. You speak the language. You eat the food. We did not talk about the food we could have, but
Yeah,
good experience only. We are talking here at the moment. Personally, you are married with a Korean, so I guess it does make sense that the right fit. I mean, for you, I think there's no question. And now enjoy that we can travel again. We did not talk also about COVID. I used to have some webinars abroad at the time of COVID. It was a different situation, but now I guess we need to enjoy it as much as we can. So, Océane, and for you, then what makes your turning point?
Pretty much settled in as well. We call it home. Australia is definitely home. We're not close to, go back maybe for a year or two, and we'll try to see if our companies can fund a relocation. That would mainly be for the kids to have a European culture, but also for our careers, because both of us are very career driven. So, we keep climbing up and you never know where the world is going to take you. So, if there's an opportunity for 1 or 2 years in, the US or anywhere else, really, if it's deemed valuable, we would probably take it. So we'll see. It's good to stay open and look at your opportunities. But yeah, it's been an incredible career here in Australia. I just did the number on my phone, but in 6 years, I've increased my salary by 6 times, which is huge. It's like, you can't do that in Europe. You can't 6 times your salary, in a couple of years. I think you need way more time. So I think, the opportunities here, that this is only the beginning. There's way more that can be achieved. And I think we've got really good training at MBS. Like, it's like just the simple stuff sometimes. It's like, I deal with customers. It really is just about, being clear in what you're asking, what you're explaining, following up, all of these little details on how concise you are with your work will actually differentiate you from the other people. And, laying on your training and what you've been taught is actually really helping when you're out there in the workforce. So yeah, look, career-wise, we'll definitely give it some more time here in Australia to grow. It's a really exciting industry as well. There's a lot of innovation, especially in tech, coming out of the country. So a lot of cool stuff to always, discover and learn from. But yeah, we'll see where it takes us. We might be back at some point just for a couple of years or so. We're sort of mapping, like retirement might be 6 months in Europe, 6 months in Australia. We'll see.
But it's really amazing because you guys, the world is your playground, as you mentioned before, Océane, and the right point was on Montpellier Business School. We are all representing the school, and on your example, well, you had to start from scratch just to follow a dream, like a country that you want to call home. You start from scratch, climb the ladders, and just you are where you are now. Now, this being said, salary increase of 6 times, I guess the responsibility will have increased by maybe more than 6 times, right? So work hard, play hard, and get well paid. But in terms of workload, Asian countries usually give a huge opportunity, but the workload may be quite intense, either in Australia or in South Korea.
Not in Australia. Probably more in South Korea, I would say. Australia they have a laid back approach. It's like Friday afternoon, drinks, 100%. It's like you clock off 3, 4 p.m., you go for drinks. You want to come in a bit, later in the morning. It has a laid back approach to it. It's like, hey, mate, how are you? It's like this sort of very, smooth sailing. It depends the area you're working on, of course. I see my husband as an architect. Depending on projects, he can really work his ass off. You do have to work, but I would say the culture for work is really good. It's a 9 to 5. People then go surfing or do other things, pick up the kids. There's always something. But yeah, I'll let you give in, Zohra, because I'm pretty sure it's quite different for South Korea.
Just let me ask you a question to see if you're real Aussie, Océane. What time is it?
Oh, God. Oh, very funny. You know, I'm scared about this. So I have friends that have a baby, right? They're French. And the baby starts counting and it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I'm like, oh no, she can't say 9. They have a terrible accent. That's the only thing, please. Let's not take the Australian accent. Yeah, it's nearly 9, Emmanuel.
Okay, understood. But if we want, maybe last comment of Zohra or Trevor or on the work side, and then we can open to question after that. We are almost at the hour, 1 minute to the hour.
Actually, I would try to be quick, but I think Trevor's experience and mine are totally different because I've only worked locally. I've worked like Koreans with Koreans all the time, to the extent that some people forget I'm not Korean, and it's not a joke. And so what's happening in Korea is that it is extremely competitive. The mindset is extremely competitive. And so especially as a foreigner, if they think you take someone's place, you have to prove 3 times, 5 times, 10 times as much your work displaced than a Korean person. And so the workload may not be as much sometimes, but there is the mental charge that you also have to take care about, because you're working with people who are from a very different culture. They have a very different mindset. And so it's also very, very important to work on the interpersonal relationships. And this is extra work. Maybe, I don't know, compared to Australia, but in Korea, because often if you speak in their language is so precise. If you do not choose the right word at the right time, the right way, it may be prompt to misunderstandings, making the communication very hard. But if you manage to do that, obviously the opportunities, especially as a foreigners, they are huge. I had the chance to look for a job maybe 6 months in the 11 years I've worked in Korea. I was always called by people I know to work with them. And so once you crack that, actually it's the doors of employment and life in Korea are open. But working locally can be extremely challenging, but totally worth it.
Thank you, Zohra, for this sharing this experience, this feedback on South Korea. Maybe we can open up any question on the floor. We have a few attendees. If you guys want to ask any question, please feel free. You can unmute yourself. I guess we should be okay. I see. Pajossi, Elsa. Anybody, any question? Or Coralie or Dominique? Hein?
Do you get... Hello.
Hello?
Okay, Elsa. Yeah. Hello.
Yeah, hello. No, I was just saying that everything was clear. Thank you. No question.
Okay, thank you, Elsa.
Okay.
Hello, yes, speaking. I have a question. Is it okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah. So I'm so sorry. I've been a little bit late in the reunion because basically I'm in Guadeloupe and it's a bit, we have a lot of difference of hours. So sorry. But I just want to ask a question from you all. It's about environmental issues. Basically, I'm launching a consulting on corporate governance, carbon assets, and sustainability in the Caribbean and Guadeloupe. And I also want to expand a little bit beyond. And I want to know what's about environmental assets in Korea and Australia. That's it.
It's a big question. Good one. I actually gave a talk on sustainability in IT this morning in partnership with Cisco. I don't know if you know them. look, it's a big business, and every corporation is looking at sustainability and how to measure the Scope 3 emissions. So is that IT related, or what kind of area are you focused on?
Basically, I to explain, we're more about communication and corporate system, communication and corporate governance, but also reporting, measuring carbon assets, what we call bilan carbon, basically. That's more about it.
So of everything.
Also, yeah, because I'm focusing on that. When I've done the Montpellier Business School, I've really focused on that. I've worked in South Africa, Brazil, and basically, yeah. That was about it.
But it's just a comment.
Okay.
It's big topic, and actually, so I'm working.
I may add something. Oh, sorry. Emmanuel, you want to add something on that? Sorry.
Yeah, there may be a little bit of delay on the line, but yes, the environmental, social, and corporate governance (ESG) is very, very, very big topic since a couple of years. Working for Nokia, a big MNC, I think Océane, you may have similar focus as an organization. People invest big time. There's budget, so companies invest money because there's reports, there's obligation in terms of financials and audit to publish target and to track achievements. So I think this is really a very good area. First of all, because it's clean, it's really helping the society, but on top of it, because now people really focus and invest time, money, and headcount. So this is really in terms of consulting where you can go big. I'm talking just in terms of MNC. So it's bigger traction will be in Asian, but anywhere else, more locally speaking. It will depend about the company, about the country, but just to refer to Singapore, there is a 2030 green plan that has been decided. Anyway, it's a small island. When government decides something, they go big. They have a big budget, so they can, reshape more easily than a bigger country. But yes, it's big money, and people really are investing this money, and will be looking for consulting. I think outside of the Caribbean, definitely. Sorry, Zohra, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, so sorry, because of the delay, I cut your words. I didn't mean to. In Korea, there is a very similar governmental, how can I say, policy, where basically like Korea, because it's highly concentrated in Seoul and the region of Gyeonggi-do, which would be the equivalent of Paris and Île-de-France, they are trying to build a green belt. They called it the Nukti Belt, which is basically they're trying to build an agricultural belt around Seoul in order to make it more ecological. There are also policies within the city related to recycling that goes, in my opinion, a step or two further than other countries, the ones I know, Morocco and France, which basically they even recycle depending on the type of plastic. Not just plastic, but the type of plastic. Paper is separated. Food is also separated. They have special bags for that. And if you do not respect those rules, you have to pay heavy fines. They are also very invested in terms of technology. So you were talking about the carbon tax. I know one company who is creating an exchange in Korea for the whole world. They're working with the US and Indonesia, where basically they're gonna emit through the blockchain system carbon, how can I say, bonds for corporates and organizations, and it's gonna be exchanged on the blockchain. So there is this small company who is getting very big that I know, who is working heavily on that. And in order to make this project viable, they have built what we call a plant like waste to, I forgot the name, but it's WPP. plant in Indonesia in order to recycle the waste into energy, to test also this exchange. So Korea is very, very big on that. They are investing very big because it combines both ecology and IT, which are two very important topics in the country. And there will be more and more needs, like Emmanuel said, in consulting, but also marketing and also promotions, basically, to have a more ecological world. So Korea is investing a lot on that. I can't tell how many billions, but I know they have many programs.
I think the tricky bit might be, every country has different policies and guidelines. So if you want to offer a consulting services to a specific country, you will need to understand the lay of the land, and what are the requirements, because one of the tricky thing on reporting emissions and carbon footprint, it's that it's not really unified to date across the globe. So, every country have different requirements for each of their corporates to report on. So I think maybe do some, good background check. Guadeloupe, has references obviously into France, and Europe has some pretty good guidelines. There are new laws. I don't know if you're across it. There are new laws that come into effect next year across Europe. That means that everyone will have to report the carbon emission annually. So, what would be your competitors? What are they doing? And maybe understanding where would be the easy markets, and nothing's going to be easy, let's be honest. It's going to be hard, but it's the beauty of it, because if it works, you're doing good for the planet and you know that you're doing something good. But yeah, I assume a lot of, background work for you and your business. I hope that was insightful between all of us.
Just thank you very much. It's just amazing. It gave me a lot of indications, because I know I think it's basically corporate governance and even sustainability or carbon is just big assets, I think, in every country. But it's true that each country, it's not like unified. It means, like, as you say, Océane, I truly need to look on the law, but I think I get used to it, because at the same time I'm working for Assemblée Nationale in France. So I get used about to check government policies. So now I think, but it's going to be really, I think, interesting. Thank you very much, all.
You're welcome.
Any more questions from the audience? We are about 1 hour and 10 minutes. I don't know if there is no more question, maybe we'll just close here. I would like to thank you, all of you, great panelists, for your time, for sharing with the fellow alumni and students who may have joined. Thanks again. Océane, thank you to have represented the alumni in Australia, as officially organizing event previously and maybe in the future, and to be part of the 2016 graduation, where we had actually a representative of 2016 in episode 1, 2, and 3. So this is a really great graduation year, I will say. Zohra, partner in crime for the 3 episodes. You were on the 3 most speakers, so many thanks again. We'll be waiting for your dancing and singing in the future, obviously. And Trevor, thanks for your freshness, for your eye opener, and to share your experience as it goes. Maybe in Korea in the future or anywhere else, but the world is yours. So thank you so much. And again, to everybody here,
Emmanuel, can I conclude? Yes, because nobody will have the chance, but because I'm your partner in crime, I would like to really thank you. Because even though I was your partner in crime, you are the one who really took care of this whole 3-part series webinar. You have been a speaker on the first one, and it was amazing to hear all the guys talking about their experiences in Southeast Asia. But I also want to thank you for all the work you've done with me. It was extremely pleasurable. It was an amazing experience for me. And Emmanuel, again, thank you very much, because you really deserve it. And also, I think we need to think together, if you agree, Coralie and Dominique, for supporting us during the webinars, during the communications, the few issues that we had, we could fix thanks to them. So yeah, thank you, Emmanuel, thank you, Coralie, and thank you, Dominique. And I'll let you finish, Emmanuel, but I wanted to thank you, and I don't think you can thank yourself, so I did it for you.
Thank you so much, but it's too much, Zohra. So all of this, of